everybody. Welcome back to the On the Right Side podcast. I'm your co-host, Steve Levy, former Suffolk County Executive, New York State Assemblyman, and the Executive Director of the fiscally conservative think tank, the Center for Cost-Effective Government. Now, last week, my partner here, David Zare, was on assignment, lots of assignments, as he often gets while he's working for Real America's Voice. We missed him dearly. But the good part about him going away and missing a show is he has all these amazing interviews and gets to come on the next show and fill us in on everything he's found out over that time. So welcome back, David, to On the Right Side, my partner.
It's great to see you, Steve. Big shout out to the America.
Put on the mic, please. Thank you. See, he goes away for 1 week and he forgets to put the mic on.
The mic is on. I'm David Zia, Real America's Voice. Thanks for having us today here. Joe the Box at the America First Warehouse. Go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com. Catch all the great stuff going on here. I was on the road for about 2 or 3 weeks straight for the network. Incredible stuff. You know, I was in Minneapolis. We'll talk about that. That was crazy.
We'll have a whole block reserved for that.
Yeah, we got assaulted, the whole thing. I was at Fort Bragg for the joint
just
innovation.
casually says got assaulted, but we'll get back to that later.
We were at Fort Bragg with the 18th Airborne Commander, Lieutenant General Greg Anderson, and the 18th Airborne and members of the 82nd Airborne for the opening of the Joint Innovation Outpost, which is really important because it goes in lines with Trump's executive order for defense acquisition, speeding up at speed, weapon systems to the warfighters at speed and scale. Really important stuff. They're in working with academia and private industry in the military, and it's a theme all across the Pentagon. And that was incredible because I watched these team members of the airborne units in a competition called Dragon's Lair. They came up with this new system to pack up a drone and attach it to their packs when they jump out of a plane and get on the front lines. Wait. Of these big drone boxes.
They have a drone on them?
They have a drone on them. They designed this pack along with this private company, and the soldiers designed it because they're trying to come up with systems that help the warfighters on the front line. Now, this meant that they can get on the ground and put up aerial reconnaissance right away and maybe save American lives.
Well, why couldn't they just throw that out of the plane?
Knock out the enemy quicker because it's not that easy. You know, you don't have to retrieve a box now. It's heavy. The box, they designed this little compact thing, and it's just one example. They also had this system, the shield they made for the top of fighting vehicles and our armored tanks and stuff that can block enemy communication interception. Really cool stuff, and that's what's going on in the Navy with John Phelan. Trump's behind it all. Hegseth is behind it. Very cool. And then I was at SpaceCom in Orlando last week. I interviewed the head of the U.S. Space Command, Stephen Whiting, 4-star general. You can't be a 5-star general unless you're in wartime. This guy is the real deal. Heads up Space Command, which is another branch right now of the service. And it's so important. It's probably the most
Which
important.
Trump put together in his first administration. It's so important, you're right.
And people laugh at it. And meanwhile...
Star Wars, but it's the next phase of fighting.
It's unbelievable, Steve. So... big things, right? The Chinese may have a terrestrial-based laser that can knock down our satellites in lower orbit. There's hunter-killer satellites that may have robot arms on them that can rip apart other satellites. They may be able to shoot munitions from those satellites in space, from those hunter-killer weapons.
Amazing.
Other countries have ASAT, anti-satellite technology. We're armoring our satellites up there with space armor, because not only is there space debris flying around at 20,000 miles an hour, it also could protect it from these attacks. We also have reports, and General Whiting shared this with me, that Russia may have a WMD in space.
Ready to be launched at any time.
Which can knock out all our satellites, which is really bad, because we have geosynchronous orbit, which is deeper space, where now we have to move our stuff north, higher up because of China's threat, potentially, with the lasers and other. Then we have medium orbit, and then we have lower orbit. It's like LEO, MEO, and GEO, they call it.
Can you imagine?
So one more thing. We only have 10,000 Starlink satellites. The Chinese are putting aside 100,000 satellite orbits. They're locking down. They're winning the space race.
Our whole life is dependent on those satellites.
Yeah.
Everything, from your computer to your phone to your heating system.
Yeah.
I mean, if they knock out those satellites, our communication system is gone. The ability perhaps in many cases to extract water from the ground, gas from the pumps. Everything's reliant on these satellites. So, the next war, the former wars used to be who's got the most people in the army, and now it's all technologically based. So we don't have, we have 300 million people. China's got 1.3 billion. They got 1 billion more people than us. We can't beat them person to person. We've got to beat them with the advanced technology. We've always had that superiority, but not so much anymore. And Trump is trying to get us to that superiority.
We kind of been, I don't want to say sleeping, but kind of not on the forefront in about 20 to 30 years. It's real serious stuff, and it can't be ignored. And on top of that, you have the Artemis 2 mission, which could launch on Friday.
That's the trip to the moon.
It's another trip to the moon on Friday. It's the largest payload ever launched from the state of Florida. It's big. It's a big deal because this one will circle the moon. The next one will be the first moon landing since the last of the 6 Apollo moon missions that landed on the moon. It'll be the first time in 50 some odd years that we're back there. But the Chinese are winning the space race in a way. They think there's water on the south pole of the moon. China may beat us back there. They want to extract it. There's elements of hydrogen and other in there, and they could possibly make oxygen for moon bases, which is the predecessor for space travel to Mars. But also there's rare earth on the moon. The moon's about 1/6 the size of Earth. There's a lot of serious things in question, but the U.S. is trying to launch the Artemis mission maybe within a year or so after this first mission to circle the moon. Really important. It's just really important.
Now, you had, segueing to another interview you had, you were interviewing one of the leaders of the GOP to Hispanic Republicans.
Yeah.
And big, block that helped propel Trump over the top in 2024.
Yeah.
Republicans were getting clobbered with the Hispanic vote for a long time. Bush did okay, George W.
But Trump changed the game.
Yeah, but in between, Romney and McCain got crushed. And, he brought it close to 50%. And actually, as you were saying earlier, more than 50% in some states. But now that's dwindling down.
But, it looks that way. So I spent a lot of time in North Carolina, and the biggest chunk, 39% unaffiliated. It was 37% 2 years ago in the general. It was 5% in like 1977. And what's going on is that more people are unaffiliated. There's only 30% Republican and only 30% Democrat in North Carolina. 39 are unaffiliated. Now, a lot of those are Latinos. 50% of the vote in 2024 went for Trump in 2024, an increase over 2016 and 2020. But there's serious concerns. So I sat down with the head of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly, the state chair, and we were talking about those dynamics.
You see different polls. I see one poll showing that they're bleeding on the Hispanic vote. Yet I saw another poll showing that Hispanics are still in the high 40s for Trump, even on the immigration issue. So my big concern, I wrote an article that's hopefully going to be published very soon in some national periodicals about how the GOP cannot become useful idiots to the Democrats on the immigration issue. And there's a lot of folks out there from Karl Rove to others saying, hey, back off, just concentrate on the criminals, don't put ICE into these places. And I'm saying be careful, if you abandon why you were elected in the first place, and that was to, stop the Democrats from bringing in 10 million people, having them counted in the census, and then giving them legality at some point and voting. So, watch out for the short term. Don't be concentrating just in the short term to inch up that Hispanic vote, where you might lose your base who says, hey, I voted for you to crack down on those 10 million people who came over the border. It's a tough decision for the operatives to make, but my suggestion is stay the course on why you were elected, and the people will follow once you finish your job. because crime is now down to all-time lows. Why? Is it just coincidence? No, you're getting rid of all of these gangbangers, Fentanyl is way down because you closed off the border. Don't go backwards is my point.
Yeah, I have Anna Geratelli on my show today from the Washington Examiner. She's a great border correspondent. She's going to bring some numbers for me. I'll let you know next week. What she has to say about the reductions in crime. In some major cities have gone down 20 to 40%.
Yeah.
Some of that is because of Trump.
Right.
But what is that number? But what's really important is that there is a feeling out there, especially 2 of the 5 districts that were redistricted in Texas for Cuellar and I think Gonzalez. Those districts may stay Democrat and will backfire on the Republicans.
Yeah.
Especially after Trump, I think, pardoned.
Pardons Cuellar. Hey, thank you, President Trump. Now I'm running again.
Well,
and Cuellar's not bad on this issue and some other issues. But the bottom line, he's still going to vote for Jeffries to be the speaker.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It leads to all of the committee chairs being head by Democrats, et cetera.
Yeah, and there's concern in North Carolina that Trump is losing a little bit of that support because there is some loss because of the ICE situation in the public perception. Right? Doesn't mean they're right. And we'll talk about it next segment because I spent a lot of time in Minneapolis. People are really uninformed.
We got to get into what you saw in Minneapolis.
Oh, God.
There's so much to talk about. And now you have the President, Tom Homan, saying we're withdrawing some Border Patrol people there.
700.
And did they gain enough to make that worthy? We'll find out. There's so much to talk about this. Now the ICE opponents are taking over the streets. Let's talk about it in 2 minutes, folks, on the right side.
Have you noticed your money just doesn't stretch like it used to? Your paycheck feels lighter, and your savings aren't growing. The culprits? Inflation and increased money supply. They've both been quietly eating away at your purchasing power for years. Today, the dollar's value has dropped significantly. You feel it every time you spend money on goods and services. Back in 1965, $1 or an ounce of silver could buy you a gallon of milk. Fast forward to today. That same dollar barely buys a couple of coffee creamers, while an ounce of silver would get you 8 gallons of milk. Gold and silver have held their value for centuries. If you had 2,500 ounces of silver back in 1965, you could buy a brand new Ford Mustang. Today, 2,500 ounces of silver would buy you 2 Mustangs. Similarly, in the year 2000, 628 ounces of gold would buy a new $170,000 home. Today, 628 ounces would buy you a $2,500,000 home. The problem? 95% of Americans don't own physical gold or silver. They think it's too complicated and too expensive, but it doesn't have to be. We offer a membership program that allows you to buy gold or silver with as little as $1. You can buy fractional amounts, safely vault them, or have them delivered to your doorstep, and you can liquidate them whenever you want at the highest buyback price in the industry. Ready to protect your wealth and keep your purchasing power? Scan the QR code or go to tafw.soundmoney.com to learn more.
If the vote count is accurate, then how come the number of voters is different? And if it's not accurate, then why was it certified? We are suing Letitia James and the New York State Board of Elections for a conspiracy against fundamental rights. This is not about who won. It's not about what party. It's about the fact that they don't care about your rights.
All right, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, live at the America First Warehouse. Live at the America First Warehouse on a Friday, Real America's Voice, all across the country, 103.9 LI News Radio, all across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
It's me, Joe the Box. And I'm John the Blanket with the America First Podcast.
That's what I'm talking about. The Fred Rubino Podcast.
I'm James Justice. We got Stephen Ruth over here. What are we doing, Steve? Fighting!
Welcome to the Patriots Podcast. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the On the Right Side podcast here at the America First Warehouse.
Welcome to Liberty's Cage, the podcast tearing down the walls of America's broken justice system.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Downey Jr. Podcast. Be free, stay free.
Hey, welcome back, folks. We are live here every Wednesday at 2 p.m. on the Right Side podcast from the America First Warehouse. If you've never been here, it's magnificent. It is a museum for patriots. Steve Levy, your co-host. I'm a former county executive here in Suffolk County and former assembly member. And we have the one, the only, David Zare from Real America's Voice back with us this week. And David, we left off the last segment talking about Minnesota.
Yeah.
And you were on the field and you said, yeah, I got assaulted up there, he said rather casually. But it's really remarkable how emboldened so many of these Marxists are up there now, where you have Chaz 2, or
Maz.
Now it's called Maz.
Minneapolis Autonomous Zone.
They're taking over, the crazy leftists are taking over the streets and making sure people show them the ID so they can determine whether they pass or not. How are these people getting away with this? Throw them in the can and throw away the key. Please, Pam Bondi, go after these son of a guns and put them in jail.
Well, as Ben Berquam, my co-host on RAV and the best border correspondent around, he's there now, and he posted this morning about how there's no police on the street.
Yeah.
There's no police at these protests. So, like, there was, when I covered the Minneapolis stuff downtown.
No local police.
There was local police downtown only after 5,000 people swarmed the Canopy Hotel and broke the windows of the Marriott Hotel and broke the door on the side of the Canopy Hotel where ICE was staying and broke into the hotel and ripped the door open and broke the windows. And they were repelled by ICE. And then the Minneapolis State or the Minnesota State Troopers came in because Waltz couldn't let that unfurl,
Yeah.
But they're not present. And
No,
I was in Powderhorn Park with 30,000 protesters. I'll tell you about that. No police on the ground.
Well, that's what the mayor of of Portland and Seattle that they were doing back when you had those occupied zones.
Yeah.
They said hands off, summer of love.
And they would arrest the conservative journalists, but not the
Exactly.
people who assaulted them.
Exactly. And I remember, to me, a major turning point in law enforcement. Do you remember this? It was right around COVID, and there was the police officer in New York City. The creeps were so emboldened because they knew that the cops had to stand off from all of the orders that came from the crazy mayors. They dumped a bucket of water on his head. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And the cop had to stand there and say, I really can't do anything in response because if I follow my natural instincts
Mike
to tackle this
LaPetri
guy.
introduced the bill in the state assembly.
That's right. Who's running for Congress this year against Tom Suozzi.
the water bill,
Right,
so you
called
can't
the water bill.
But
Nothing happened.
So I covered ICE protests in Manhattan
But that's my point. Nothing happened to these guys. So I say, hey, I can do that. I can attack a cop and nothing's going to happen to me.
I covered the ICE protests in the city last year under Adams, and Jessica Tisch was in there, newly appointed, police commissioner. And I watched the cops take off the gloves with the protesters. Thank God. Finally, all angry white girls from McMansions in suburbia wearing schmatas like Yasser Arafat. And then there were
Billie
a
Eilish.
couple other people. But there were no Mexicans protesting ICE,
Just like there's no American Indians, Native American Indians, who were protesting the name of American Indians on for their mascots.
Yeah, and who did they take the land from?
We'll get into that. We're going to talk about that in the next
And
segment.
Billie Eilish, is she going to? There's a guy trying to move into her house.
Yeah, the Indian says, "Give me my land back. Give me my house back." We will.
But Minneapolis, right?
Maz, I love it.
We were on the ground with about 30,000 people. It was a big percentage of population. This is a week and a half ago, and 2 weeks ago, and it was 2 days after Renee Good was shot, and it was a big protest. No cops on the ground, and I was swarmed by thousands of people. I was the only journalist on the ground outside of Nick Sorter that I could see that was actually in the crowd asking people questions, live streaming, and I was being really respectful. Nobody can have an intelligent conversation. They would blow the whistles on you like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, radio ahead. They would identify you, and 1,000 people started following us and shoving us and blocking our path and throwing ice at our windows in our car, trying to break the windows, blocking us in. It was our security was about to draw their weapons. It was really bad. It was really bad. They're crazy. They want civil war.
They do.
And
they attacked a local Fox reporter, thinking it was national Fox, and they were beating on her.
Yeah.
And then in I think it was L.A., you can see them following around this one reporter who's from the California Post, the New York Post, one of the best papers in the world.
Yeah.
is now going to California, finally, instead of the San Francisco Chronicle and the L.A. Times
saw
being
that.
the only way to
Yeah.
get news. The New York Post is now in California. Thank God it's the California Post. And they send a reporter to one of the meetings, and they harassed her to the point where her safety was in jeopardy. Just a disgusting violation of the freedom of the press by the tolerant ones who are concerned about ending democracy, right?
Yeah, and they operate with impunity. And what's going on is things are going to really burn when the weather gets better. You know,
Yep.
I was out there, it was 5-10 degrees.
Unbelievable. We got so many
It was
people out
20
there.
below, and you still had 100,000 people in the streets with the wind chill the other day, Minneapolis. Listen, people are mad. I interviewed people in the neighborhood where Renee Good was shot, right on the street where she was shot. People don't want ICE in their neighborhoods. They're very liberal out there. They're the most radical in the nation out there, I think, more than any city.
With Portland.
And
Used to be
I think
San
they're worse.
Francisco.
I think they're
They might
worse.
be. They might be.
And they're more. They're crazy.
better
It's all
organized.
ring-nosed, angry, middle-aged white women yelling in your face. It's crazy. We were in the restaurant with my cameraman, and I just left Scott Besson, the treasurer, meeting about a Somali fraud in Minneapolis. And we were in the restaurant. And we have the Real America's Voice news jacket logo. And we were just sitting there. We were in there for 3 seconds, and a lady came up and calling us Nazis and effing fascists. And
Which gives them the right to attack you,
and in
because
front
if
of
you're a
her
Nazi, you
kids,
got to be stopped.
in front of her 2 kids, and her wimpy husband got up and got in her face and threw a giant drink in my cameraman's face and stormed out of the restaurant.
You know, I'm going to say this, and it's going to be controversial, okay? But in years past, there were 2 reasons why you wouldn't do that to another person. One was that you were afraid law enforcement was going to come after you and actually do something to you. But secondly, you're afraid you'd get your ass kicked, all right? If you did that to someone would punch you in the teeth, okay? But now, this crazy upside-down world we're in, the people who are getting attacked, who normally would have knocked you in the mouth, and I'm going to be the one who's put in jail if I try to defend my kids. That's how insane it is right now.
Yeah.
There's got to be one or the other. You have to either have fear that you're going to go to jail or fear that you're going to get punched in the mouth if you start to attack somebody else. And now we have neither.
Yeah, but Ben,
I'm not proposing that we punch people in the mouth. The reason we have police is so that you don't have to punch someone in the mouth.
our border correspondent, Ben Berquam, I've been working with for 7 years. He gets in their face, but he's respectful, and he doesn't curse really. He has a positive message, and he just goes back at them. So he's in Baltimore a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And there was an ICE meeting, an anti-ICE meeting, and there's private security in there. Probably a lot of cops moonlighting in there. I don't know that for sure. But they put their hands on him.
Yeah.
And they threw him out of a public meeting. And he didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And he had the right to be there filming it.
Such a double standard.
And it's a total double standard.
Look at Don Lemon, right?
Yeah.
This guy was conspiring with criminals to interrupt a church service. He wasn't there as an observer. He's there handing them donuts, kissing them on the cheek, and saying into a camera, we're about to go in there, and these white supremacists there are finally going to have an accounting. That is a hate crime. Yeah. And thank goodness that Pam Bondi is charging this SOB, and he can go on Jimmy Kimmel all he wants. He can get as many standing ovations at the Grammy that he wants.
Yeah.
Put this guy's ass in jail because he deliberately scared the hell out of these little kids at a church service and was trespassing and committing a hate crime based upon his own language that we're going after these white people, these white Christians.
And the FACE Act, and people got 11 years in prison just for praying outside of an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
You
talk about the double standard, right? Hey, we're wrapping up this session, but let's start it now. But I want it to bleed into the next one. You have an awesome interview coming up next week or later this week, and it dovetails from the whole immigration issue up in
the invisible coup.
The Invisible Coup by Peter Schweitzer,
Yeah.
a fabulous author who's written the greats of Clinton Cash and so many other things. This guy does his research, and he's unassailable regarding the facts that he lays out. But his argument, David,
The
is
Government
we're gonna get
Accountability Institute.
yeah, and his argument is, hey, immigration, it's just not for cheap labor. It is part of a master plan by America's enemies, the communist Chinese and some in Mexico who are using illegal immigration and some legal immigration, but mostly illegal immigration, to change the census, to change the political map, to give the Marxist the power ascendancy that they would never otherwise happen. And he lays it out brilliantly as to how all of these protesters are being
Yeah, because think
funded
about
by
it.
the communists.
You don't just open a country's borders by snapping your fingers.
Right.
Right. There had to be a lot that went into Biden changing the CBP1 app, you know, and then allowing
Mass
people
parole.
to lie, and the Haitian, Venezuela, Nicaraguan, and Cuban, you know, program where you go on your phone and you book your own plane ticket and come here. I mean, this was orchestrated.
that the government would pay for.
Yeah.
You book the ticket, the government
That's
will reimburse
over.
you.
That's
over,
over.
thank God. But Schweitzer's whole theme in this book is that this is coordinated, folks. Those people in Minneapolis, not all of them, but a good chunk of them, they're funded by these nefarious folks, billionaires, George Soros, of course, but billionaires funded by the Chinese communists with the intent of undermining American
Indivisible-
institutions and the American Constitution.
Yeah, and Indivisible got at least $8 million, and they're planning all these riots around with the anti-ICE stuff.
Well, more to talk about on the next segment. You're watching On the Right Side here at the America First Warehouse. We'll see you in 2 minutes, folks.
You've worked hard and saved, but inflation and increased money supply are eroding your buying power. Protect and grow your wealth with physical gold and silver. Sound Money. With a Sound Money wallet, your wealth stays in your control. Buy fractionally, vault securely, ship directly, and instantly liquidate your gold and silver at the highest buyback price in the industry. Real money, real ownership. Visit tafwsoundmoney.info or scan the QR code and start securing your financial future today.
The America First Ultra MAGA store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA store.
All right, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, live at the America First Warehouse. Live at the America First Warehouse on a Friday, Real America's Voice, all across the country, 103.9 LI News Radio, all across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
Corporate transfer. Fine professional, moving and storage, and inventory management.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
The America First Warehouse,
Welcome back to On the Right Side. I'm David Zier, and I'm here with Steve Levy at the America First Warehouse. Go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com. We have so many exciting things going on. It's a crazy time. Midterms, ICE, a looming shutdown, which may be averted. We're going to get back into that in a minute. But I've had an incredible time on the road for the last 3 weeks, covering Department of War, Space Command, Fort Bragg, Airborne Corps, North Carolina, my Michael Watley interview, so much going on. Also the National Hispanic Republican Assembly, and the Freedom 250 kicking off mobile museum tour nationwide to educate our kids with these interactive museums. I was with Secretary
Oh my
Duffy.
God, do we need the education of our kids
and civics
about how America is a great place to be and how lucky you are, instead of the damn 1619 project that is now in 4,000 schools around the country, teaching kids that America is a racist country that was founded to promote slavery.
These interactive museums are really cool, and they're going to be all over the country up until July 4th, right?
Yeah.
But we wanted to get back to what we were talking about before the break, right?
Yeah, we're talking about Schweitzer.
Peter Schweitzer. I confirmed an interview with him for next Thursday on Breaking Point. It'll air next Saturday, which is like the 14th, I believe, Valentine's Day. My wife's going out with her boyfriend that night. It's going to work out well.
Well, your wife is going out with the boy. Okay. Can we
I'm
have
only
the
kidding,
camera
Jen.
crew
I'm
follow
kidding,
that
Jen.
one around, please?
Hopefully she's not watching this. Love you, Jen. So anyway, so much going on here.
Well, let me talk about Schweitzer, okay?
I thought you wanted to talk about my wife.
Not about your wife, okay? I was independent. We got some members of the audience cracking up on that one. I was writing an article on the 15 steps that the leftists, the Marxists, are incorporating to take over America. And it was kind of juxtaposing against the Schweitzer book coming out because so much overlap there. But we're saying the same thing as far as the first thing you do is import millions of new voters, and then give them legal status, do everything you can to prevent their deportation, get them in, have them vote for Democratic majorities throughout the nation so that America as a whole becomes Californication, I guess you'd say, where you have total one-party rule. That's what you have in California, New York, Illinois, Massachusetts. That's why everybody's leaving those states in droves, okay? But they want that nationally. Then when they get that control, what do? They bring in D.C., Washington, D.C., and to get more senators. They make Puerto Rico a state, and they stack the court, and they redistrict up the wazoo to make sure that the minority is silenced and can never have a say again. And immigration is a major part of that, says Peter Schweitzer, because they're your new voters. The traditional American voters are now swarming out of the blue states that are poised to lose a tremendous number of electoral votes for the next presidential election. And they're going to the red states to make them even stronger and turn some of the purple states red. But the only ace in the hole for the Democrats is the illegal immigration if they have them counted in the census so they don't lose those seats. And that's what Schweitzer's saying, and he's absolutely right. Well, something a lot of us have been saying for a while.
Yeah, and Schweitzer's really good at documenting stuff, so this book should be great. I just bought it. You just bought it. We're going to read it this weekend probably, right? So very exciting. But he points out, and the reason he wrote the book was we always focus on what happens to immigrants once they get here. And it's bigger than that. What adversaries conspired with people within our government, like we were saying, Biden had the CPB-1 app. We had the flights from Nicaragua, Haiti, Cuba, and Venezuela coming in, where they pay for you. You could drink a scotch while you land in Omaha and start a new life, and they pay for your ticket. It was crazy. And you could, tell them where you want to go. But this is all about changing the census. And I think that this book will really ignite another conversation that's long overdue about who's planning this, who planned this.
And it explains why Waltz and Fry and Keith Ellison up in Minnesota looked the other way.
Yeah.
Well, it was billions of dollars in daycare fraud right under their nose. You can't alienate them. You actually had one of the Somalis go before a public forum and say, hey, Democrats, back off or you will lose our support. And now you're seeing it in L.A. with hospice care, where
Yeah.
Dr. Oz went
Huge.
down there and said, they're just ripping
that's
over,
what
and
these-
that's the Armenians and the Russian immigrants
But
doing
that's
that.
what
So it's
the
not a racial thing.
protests are all about, Steve. It's all about taking the eye off of that in Minnesota, off of the Somali
you got that
fraud,
right. Who's been
and
talking about
fomenting
fraud?
these massive protests about ICE. And I was with Bess in Minneapolis, and I was at a round table, and they were talking. People were coming with their stories that are going to launch more investigations about what's transpired. But like the story in Breitbart 2 weeks ago, $700 million in $1 million or more dollar increments went out of Minneapolis airport over a couple of years. Now you can't travel with more than $10,000 on you, or you get stopped. Who was in on it in the federal airport in Minneapolis?
Well, these guys were looking the other way, the Democrats in Minnesota, and Gavin Newsom, who got his love piece in Vogue magazine, which was disgusting. They never asked him about all the fraud in California. And he responds to one question from a conservative outlet and says, what are you talking about with this hospital care? We knew about this. It's not new. We're on this. What did you do about it? Nothing.
Yeah, and did the anyone in the federal government or a congressman or a state senator or an assembly or the governor or the mayor of Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minneapolis-St. Paul region, right, where the airport is, did they know that this money was being funneled?
Well, there's some criminality there if they did.
They're building whole cities in Somalia. This money not only went to Somalia, it went to surrounding countries in Africa, and it went to Middle East countries.
It really, truly is remarkable. And it segues into, another article I had that, I'm hoping and praying that the Republican leaders and legislators do not become useful idiots for the Democrats. Schweitz is saying it. I'm saying it. I've been saying it over again. The game plan has always been bring in millions so that they will be your new voters and distort the census. And I think the Democrats' thinking from the start was just bring them all in. Once they
100%.
hear the Republicans and the soft, squishy middle, they'll bend.
And big labor.
They'll bend. And labor will bend.
Not big labor,
And they'll
but
say, all
big
right, throw out the
corporations who
murderer.
use their labor. I
Yeah.
don't mean big labor.
But
as
you got a
far as
lot of
unions.
Republicans now echoing this. Well, we'll only deport them if they committed a major crime afterwards. That's not the way immigration works. Holman's got it right. Look, we've got millions of these people. We have to focus on the worst because we don't have enough of our manpower to get rid of everyone. We're focusing as a priority with the criminals, but don't think that if we pick you up along the way that you could say, oh, no, I'm immune. You can't deport me. I might be here illegally, but I didn't rape or murder anyone after the fact. You cannot send that message. Holman's 100% right. You do that, we are an open border. You send a message around the world. I can go there, never commit another crime, and I can stay forever. So stick to your guns, Republicans. Follow the Holman path. Stop with the nonsense that you're going to support these bills with citizenship and all that other nonsense. If you're here illegally, you should be looking over your shoulder.
I agree. I don't see how we're going to deport 14 million people.
No, it's not going to happen.
But,
you can get to 7 million if you concentrate on the bad ones
about 2
and then
million
get
now,
the ancillary.
including self-deportation.
I don't know. Do you buy that self-deportation number? I don't know how to come up with
I
it.
think they're
don't know how
also
to do it.
increasing the amount they're going to give people to return.
Yeah, they were giving them 1,000,
Yeah, I think- no, I think
1,500,
it's
maybe
gone-
it's up
I
to
think
2
it's
of them.
gone up.
I don't know if that's enough.
But listen, this issue is not going to go away. Trump wanted to do a deal for DACA when he wanted to build the wall. So maybe there's something else in there that they can use. As
If it stopped at DACA, maybe
temporary-
that's 800,000 people.
Yeah.
We're talking about millions and millions of people
Yeah.
who will be allowed to stay here. And at least if John Roberts and that damn Supreme Court would change the absurd decision they made years ago that it's a person and not a citizen You have to interpret that the way the founders intended. Of course, they meant citizens. They didn't mean visitors who were over here to be counted in the census. That's the story.
Yeah, when is that tariff decision coming out, too?
Yeah, and what do you think? I think they're going to try and split the baby on that. I don't know how they do that. But, I mean, listen, technically...
It's not going to be a blanket no because it'll destroy the economy.
That's exactly it. And guys like Alito don't care because they're really, you know, ideologues in that sense. But a guy like Roberts, he's always, well, let me balance this out so that, you know, my court doesn't look bad. But I think it's got to be some kind of cutting of the baby on that.
Yeah, Roberts, who gave us the ACA Act.
Yeah, who said, you know, I know it's
not a tax.
It's illegal, but we'll call it a tax so that we go through it. And he's been terrible on the border stuff, too. He is, you know, the guy who made that decision on the illegals being counted in the census, and he refused to, on election integrity, to strike down what they did in Pennsylvania. He just punted
state legislature,
and said it was moot.
You know, that was critical because that should have been thrown back for a 10-day review.
Absolutely. You know what happened in that case? And it drives me crazy. I know we're out of time on this session. Whenever I see CNN, oh, there was no fraud in the election. The Republicans went to the court to say, hey, they can't do this. They can't allow for these things to be held, to be counted if they come after election. And the court says, we don't have enough time to decide it. Come back after election. They came back after election. The court said, it's too late. It's moot. Tails, we win, we lose, and heads, they win.
Yeah, it wasn't that there wasn't fraud. It was just that the courts wouldn't entertain
They wouldn't address it. All right, come back. We have one more section to go. On the right side at the America First Warehouse. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
Most people think they have options when searching for the best deals when they travel. But here's the shocking truth. 100% of the major travel agencies are owned by just two entities, Expedia and Booking Holdings. They claim to offer the lowest rates, but due to the hotel rate parity agreement, they all have the same pricing, limiting genuine competition. When you book through these sites, you act as your own travel agent, but the profits are going to organizations that don't support our patriot values. We cannot allow that to continue. So, we decided to make travel great again by starting a US-based travel membership platform, mypatriottravel.com. We are patriots helping patriots. Together, we can disrupt the travel industry by not spending our hard-earned dollars supporting the radical left. For just $29.99 per month, you gain access to true wholesale rates on travel, saving you on average 35% and up to 65%. Book as often as you like, with no limits. Keep your hard-earned dollars in your pocket and spend them on things you need and want to support. Go to mypatriottravel.com/TAFW and grab your membership today. mypatriottravel.com/TAFW, making travel great again.
Are you a true American? Then it's time to get connected. Download the America First Media and Television app and stay up to date with real news, bold voices, and live events from the America First Warehouse. From national broadcasts and exclusive shows to comedy nights, concerts, and special events. It's all right at your fingertips. No filters, no spin, just America First. Download the America First Media and Television app today and be part of the movement.
I'm sure you guys remember the platinum single, Justice for All, with Donald Trump and the J6 Prison Choir. Well, get ready for round two. We're coming out with Anthem of the Free with High Res and the J6 Prison Choir. It's coming out now. It's pre-sale until December 19th when it drops. Get yours on all platforms, Google Play, Apple iTunes. Get it. It's going to be hot.
Justice for all voices ring, the anthem of the free.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
Welcome back. You are watching On the Right Side here at the America First Warehouse here. We got a nice little sign here. Steve Levy, former Suffolk County executive, former New York State Assemblyman, Democrat turned Republican, fiscal conservative, tough on the border. You were very tough on immigration when you were the county executive.
Oh, yeah, that was way before Trump. I left office in the end of 2011, but I saw what was happening. And
you were one of the first
I was
leaders.
one of the first. You know, I'd knock on doors in my neighborhoods, and people would say, "What are you going to do about that house?" And so, what are you talking about? It's a 900 square foot house. They were stuffing 66 day laborers in a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And I said, I'm going to do something about this. And we tried to crack down. And
Farmingville
was
bad.
Right, terrible. And
Eagle
and
Estates.
It was also a problem that, hey, you're a legitimate contractor, and you want to play by the rules, paying health care and workers' comp, and you're getting undercut by the illegal underground.
Yeah, no insurance,
right?
No driver's licenses.
I'm sticking up for them, and then
no
the local
workers'
newspaper,
comp, and then they get injured, and you're paying for it.
Right. And the local newspaper say, "Oh, you're a racist, you're anti-immigrant, you're a nativist, you're a xenophobe." So, what the hell are you talking about? Just trying to enforce law. And this was as a Democrat. And I found that both the Democrats and the Republicans were wimps on this issue. But, you know, I did my thing, and then Trump came along and really put it on steroids. And now you have the Bruce Blakeman, who is the Nassau County executive.
Very tough on immigration. On
the
illegal
neighborhood next to us.
immigration.
He's doing the same thing I did. But he's got a president in there who's, simpatico, and he's running against Kathy Hochul, who's had the Democratic governor here in New York, and she's got the disgusting bill that's just been promoted to say that local governments are prohibited from forming alliances with ICE.
Yeah.
That's how crazy it's become, David.
Yeah, no, it's bad, and Trump's talking about how to address getting rid of sanctuary policies in 12 states, because that's got to go. That's got to go. You're violating the law, and the big thing about
Lindsey Graham's got a bill in to make it illegal.
I saw that,
which I think it is already.
The big thing is that this whole thing is because law enforcement, because of political pressure, and the DAs in these liberal cities in Portland, Seattle, Chicago, New York, Minneapolis, are not holding violent criminals when they commit crimes. They're letting them out the back door of the
The
police
George
station.
Soros prosecutors.
And they're giving them lesser charges because they don't want ICE in their jails.
Right.
So what Tom Homan is negotiating and what Trump has to do, which he's doing, is to get these cities to cooperate better with that end of it. For violent criminals, at least, it's not going to be everything they want, but that is a good start, because then ICE isn't going through the neighborhoods where people don't want ICE at people's doorbells. And
Or at the
dragging them out of the
schools or
house.
at the courthouse.
Now, yes, they're right for doing what they're doing, ICE. They are. They're justified. They're federal officers. They're allowed to do it. Just like the FBI was allowed to go into Venezuela because of case law in the United States.
Sure.
That said, the FBI could go into Venezuela and extract this guy because he's a criminal.
But again,
but the optics have to work too.
Yeah, but in fairness to ICE, the optics are looking bad because this is the first time ever that you had organized hordes spitting at them and whistling. Now, they didn't do this with Obama, okay, and blocking their access. So what are you going to do? And this is the first time where local authorities are not assisting their other law enforcement brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
They're siding with the thugs.
And CNN went for ride-alongs with
Right,
ICE and
right.
praised
So
them.
That's why everything is turned upside down. And you ask yourself, well, why wouldn't a mayor, a county executive, a governor want that murderer or that child molester upon the termination of his sentence why wouldn't you want ICE to take him out? Because they want every single illegal on the streets to be counted for the census.
And they were
That's what it's all about.
They were critical of ICE dragging this guy out of the house and in his shorts, and it was 17 degrees or whatever, it was freezing, and for 17 seconds he had to get transported to a car or something. Yeah. But they forgot to mention that the guy was wanted for selling his own son.
Yeah. ICE detained the 5-year-old. They went after a 5-year-old to deport the 5-year-old. They went after the father who ran away and abandoned his 5-year-old
Right.
in the freezing cold. So now the ICE agent is saying, I got a 5-year-old kid. What am I going to do? So they knock on the door to the mother, and the mother won't come out.
And then the
So
guy
they say, all right, we got to
eventually-
bring the kid in.
And the guy, I think, who ran eventually said, yeah, it's okay to take this.
Yeah, so then ICE offers the guy, all right, do you want to take the kid with you, or do you want us to do something with the? No, I'll take the kid. So now he's with the kid, and the media says they absconded this kid and are trying to deport him. It's absolutely mind-boggling what they get away with.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. All right.
I want to segue to something if we can.
What you got?
The transgender case.
Right.
This is huge,
Yeah.
major ramifications. So many of us have been saying, how are they allowing these 13-year-olds to be butchered, okay, sterilized under the name of gender ideology, right?
Yeah.
And one of these young women who went before the white coats, the doctors, and the cottage industry, the psychologists who promote gender transition.
They were found liable.
They were found liable for $2 million verdict because the jury said they unduly pressured this family into it. They told the family, would you rather have a live son or a dead daughter? And they made this rash decision, and now this girl lost her breast. She's sterilized. Where do I get
Right,
it
because
back?
her gender
You can't.
dysphoria dissipated.
Yeah.
And now
the-
she's 22.
Which the studies show. The European studies show that if you just let it play out, most of the times these things will handle themselves rather than making these rash, life-changing decisions at 13, 14, 15 years old. That's irreversible. The studies show that there's underlying psychiatric problems that are not eviscerated with this trans surgery and the sterilization. So we've been shouting to the heavens, stop this stuff. There have been executive orders, there's been legislation, and nothing has stopped these blue states from going forward because they get paid off by this billion-dollar
think
industry.
about it.
But this will stop it because no doctor wants to perform this surgery
they're gonna
and then
get
get
sued.
sued and be liable for $2 million. So finally, I can say to trial lawyers, thank you very much for what you just did.
But it's not enough. 1.6 million is nothing. And when the lawyer takes their third, you're left with $1.1 million.
Yeah, but it's a nice,
And then you
it's
got-
a deterrent against the doctor. That's what.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like it should have been like a $40
Oh, it should have been a
million
bigger.
suit.
Yeah.
You know, because something's got to really, because those guys malpractice will cover that. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Does it cover it in a litigation?
Cover what?
Malpractice.
Yeah, you're
insurance?
covered by your malpractice, but you'll never get it again. And then the rates go up for everybody else. But nobody wants that on their record. You know, you don't want to be sued. So this might have done it. Big case.
Wow.
So we were trying to get it done through legislation, through executive orders. This might change everything. Thank God.
I just wanted to bring up to you, I was in Iowa on the ground last
Yep.
week,
Yep.
and Clive, just north of Des Moines. 3rd District, Zach Nunn. 1st District, Marionette Miller Meeks, which is not just east of there in Davenport, a liberal area. Both of them are hanging by a thread. And the Republicans have outraised the Democrats in the fourth quarter of last year by like 780,000 to 710 per average congressman in these vulnerable districts. But Congress is still going to go blue as of now.
Yeah. The question is, will the Senate? And it might.
So Trump started this national thing where he's going to go around to all these vulnerable districts. But if they lose those 2 seats in Iowa, they can only afford to lose 2 more seats nationwide, the Republicans. So Trump's trying to beef it up.
Well, there's going to have to be a major turnaround in the economy where the rates come way down and you start seeing the effects of the big, beautiful bill kicking in. They will kick in.
Yeah.
The question is, will it be enough time? You know, we have to talk about more of that next week, but I want to make sure I get in with the 3 minutes left here that if people want to see more of this stuff, and this amazing warehouse, thanks to Joe the Box, provides so many outlets for common sense, conservative thought people out there. If you want to see more of it, go to the AmericaFirstShows.com and America First Media. It's now a big conglomerate where you can get this show and so many other shows. They're also going to have like magazines that I'm going to start writing for. I write for Washington Examiner every once in a while, Washington Times. They publish my stuff, Newsmax. I'd love to have it there, so folks should see that. And also, one of our sponsors, they convinced me to invest in gold, and I'm so glad I did. If you guys want to do it too, you can go to TAFW, that's the America First Warehouse, TAFWsoundmoney.com. Do what I did. I can't say it's always going to go up. It may go down at some point, but it's something for you to look at. So what do you have coming up for next week? We're going to have so much to talk about. I want to talk about Spamberger down in Virginia and Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, who ran as so-called moderates, and now the true colors are coming out. They're as progressive as any of the others. That'll be fun to talk about. What else do we want to talk about next?
Oh, we've got so much. I got something really exciting going on with the Department of War, so I'll be able to talk about that next week. It's off the record right now.
Okay.
Very,
you could
very
tell us,
cool.
but you'd have to kill us, that kind of
That's
thing?
right.
Okay.
And just an incredible atmosphere in Washington in the Pentagon. The branches seem to be united. They got rid of the DEI garbage. They're all like on the same page now. It's kind of cool to watch.
Well, I also want to talk about electric rates because people are spending a fortune now on higher electricity rates, and the Dems are trying to blame it on AI. It will have an impact later, AI, but that's not what's causing these major rates to go up. It's their crazy extremist green policies that are kicking in, and people are seeing their bills going through the roof. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, if you guys want to see my content, go to stevelevy.info or the Center for Cost-Effective Government.org. Look at all of our white papers, and I'll see you next week. David, where did I catch your stuff?
Breaking Point this Saturday, 8 a.m. I got great stuff, and don't miss it. I've got border correspondent Anna Geratelli from the Washington Examiner, Kaylin Deese, DOG reporter for Washington Examiner. I've got L. Todd Wood, who flew choppers for 20 years, carting around our special forces for 20 years around the globe. I'm David Zier, Real America's Voice. We're at the America First Warehouse. Steve Levy, thanks for joining us on the Right Side podcast. Catch us next week.
First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see. A symbol of hope, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be. The America First Warehouse.